and he's in trouble. He's going to run. He's going to get the first down.
Don't sleep on those legs. Oh, he faked the slide. Sauce time. The Pitt Panthers have pulled a stunning upset over the West Virginia Mountaineers.
And Johnny Majors gets a ride across the field.
What is up, everybody? Welcome back to Simplify. I'm your host, Zach Kaminsky. I'm joined by both my co-hosts, Mason and Kent. Unfortunately, we were not able to negotiate Kent's release from the Yemeni prison, which he has been kept at now for over a week. It's looking bad, but I think we're going to have to go overseas to really sort this out. But first off, Mason, how are you doing tonight?
I'm doing all right. We wasn't able to watch as much of the game on Saturday as I like, but I'm starting to think that might have been a good thing for me, given the way that it ended here.
Yeah, just to let you in on a secret, I did not watch this whole game. I was very sleepy and had to go to bed. I watched the good part of the game, and then I fell asleep. I woke up, saw the score, and I was disappointed, to say the least.
Yeah. They had it on at the bar I was at for the first half of the game, and I was able to watch a good amount. I guess I should have just stayed at that bar and not left, because that's when things were going well. But
okay, so it is your fault. That's what you're saying.
It always is. Yeah.
All right, Kent. How are you in sunny Yemen?
Good. They let me escape for the weekend, go to Philly. So I had a good time in Philly this weekend, but I unfortunately also missed most of the game. I actually only got to watch pretty much the bad part because the Phillies happened to be in the World Series. So they were a little more focused on that than the Pitt UNC game.
As they should be.
Yeah,
as they should
pretty
be,
fair.
Honestly.
So, but now I'm back, and good old Yemen.
I guess they really didn't like the Christmas bit. That really, that really threw a snag in the negotiations, I will say.
Yeah, they told me I would only be allowed to stay if I won my Christmas matchup prediction. So.
We're now looking into a Ramadan game of the week in order to appease the authorities. But let's get into the Pitt game. Final score, UNC 42, Pitt 24. UNC is now probably the Coastal Division favorite. I don't think that there's only really one losable game in the ACC left on their schedule. They get, I believe they get Wake Forest on the road. I believe that is a conference game this year. Sometimes it's not. So UNC down the stretch has at Virginia, at Wake Forest versus Georgia Tech, and home against NC State, a Devin Leary-less NC State. We can get to them after the Pitt recap, but we also have a cat in the studio, so if there are any weird noises, you know why that happened. However, Pitt drops to 4-4. They're now 1-3 in ACC play, and I think the biggest takeaway from this game is that the division championship is just completely off the table.
Yeah.
We would need to win out. We probably need some other teams to lose at this point, and we need UNC to lose out to even be able to sniff conference championship game at this point. And looking at the rest of Pitt's schedule, I don't think that winning out is really a given. And we can get to that a little later, but let's focus on the game for now. And I hit the wrong button. Okay, let's start. We'll do our play-by-play or drive-by-drive recap. Pitt starts off the game with a nice-looking touchdown drive. Starts off with a Bub Means completion, and then something that we don't really expect here, which is a long pass to Bub Means, which is not dropped. It's actually completed for a 40-yard gain. The offense keeps chugging. And on 3rd and 3 at the UNC 6, Izzy runs it in for a touchdown, 7-0 Pitt. On UNC's first drive, they actually go 3-and-out and punt. Drake May can't get to the first down on 3rd and 5. Now, after that, Pitt punts after going 3-and-out. Pitt can't convert a 3rd and 10 after going 3 straight passes.
We went air raid. We went air raid for a drive.
But they saw one deep pass and thought that Keaton was fixed. And then sort of like the story of the game is that UNC always caught a counterpunch. They never went down more than 10 points, I believe. UNC goes on off of a very short punt. Okay, you cat bastard. After a short punt from the Pitt 15, UNC starts their 41 and just sort of has a long sustained drive, ending in a 16-yard touchdown pass from Drake May. We said on this preview show that Drake May would have to be stopped if we wanted to even have a chance at winning this game. And the funny thing is, they sort of did. UNC was, I believe, 4 for 11 on 3rd downs in this game, but they did not stop them on early downs, and UNC was 2 of 3 on 4th down, including 1 conversion on this drive. So it's 7-7 after another pair of punts from Pitt and UNC. Pitt goes on a 3-play, 45-yard touchdown drive after a great punt return from MJ Devonshire that puts us in North Carolina territory. Keaton throws his second long ball of the game, a deep pass to Jared Wayne. 41 yards, puts them in North Carolina 5. This was an underthrown ball for sure. However, Jared Wayne makes the catch, and it doesn't really matter because the next play is he runs it in for a touchdown from 4 yards out. So this one, I'm actually feeling pretty good about the offense. It's actually working.
Yeah.
I mean,
we were taking shots. It wasn't like
we were using play action. Look at that.
Yeah, it wasn't the boring pass concepts. Like we were actually. I guess we saw something on the film, probably against like the App State games where they were taking these shots and big hitter plays. Signetti finally decided, maybe we should like throw the ball downfield a little bit, and it worked for the first half and this first half of the third quarter.
Yep. So after forcing another UNC punt on their next drive, Pitt was on a 10-play, 63-yard field goal drive. So they were moving the ball. They started their own 8. They get it out to about the UNC 30. After an incompletion on 2nd down, a false start on 3rd. They can't convert a 3rd and 13. This offense isn't really great when you're that far behind the 6. But Ben Sauls hits a 47-yard field goal, puts up 17-7. The next drive is a quick hitter touchdown drive from UNC. After starting off with 1 incompletion, Drake May throws 4 straight completions, all with the last over 20 yards, going for more than 20 yards. The last one was just a 1-yard touchdown on pretty much the goal line.
This would have been one of those drives that would have been good to
not have that happen.
Yeah, not just get, like you said, because we're up 10 at that point. Even if we could hold them to a field goal or just anything but as dominant as that drive looked like, it could have been a good time to like pull away, and this might have gone differently in the second half. But continue.
So finishing out the first half, there are 2 Pitt punts and 1 UNC punt. So we go into halftime up 3. Where have I seen this before? Pitt going up 3 into halftime against an ACC team.
Yeah.
So, starting off the second half, the last real successful drive of Pitt's offense includes another Jared Wayne bomb. This was probably the best throw of the night. Long throw to Jared Wayne, hit him in stride. Then Izzy on the next play runs in for a 22-yard touchdown, 24-14. The next UNC drive is a 12-play, 75-yarder, just another
marching down the field.
Can't stop them on 4th down. Drake May scrambles for 7 yards. They end up scoring from 13 yards out. And after that, the offense just doesn't work. Izzy sort of gets after a big gain on 2nd down. Keaton can't complete the pass, the short run on 2nd, and then at the UNC 48, Keaton gets sacked big time. Super bad missed block by the left tackle, just doing the play before it really even started. They pin UNC inside their own territory, and from their 16, they go 10 plays, 84 yards for another touchdown. Pitt is now down only 4 points, it's 28-24, and then the wheels come off. The next drive, is a fairly solid drive for Izzy. He's got 3 carries of 7 yards or more. We're right about near midfield. Actually, we're on midfield at the 3rd and 1 play, where Izzy just gets hammered in the backfield and fumbles the ball. So on this play, we're going over the highlights. Izzy just got demolished in the backfield. The right guard, who I do not remember who it is, and Ryan Jacoby both missed blocks on the interior. Izzy's hit about a yard before the line of scrimmage, ball pops out. And then pretty much all downhill from there. UNC goes on a quick 3-play touchdown drive. Pitt punts after going 3 plays for 0 yards, which is, again, 3 straight incompletions. UNC then goes on another 3-play touchdown drive after a 10-yard net punt, a Cam Guest 33-yard punt, which was returned for 23 yards. Pitt's last drive of the game was a 7-play, 19-yard drive that went about to midfield, and then we just couldn't convert on 4th and 6, and then UNC ends the game 42-24. Now, my first question to both of you is, we were watching those highlights. I don't think the offense was really fixed by any stretch of the imagination, even though they had a decent game for their standards. But was this more of a game plan change? There obviously were some game plan changes. We had some deep shots, we had some more play action in the first half, which I don't know why they didn't run as much play action in the second half. But was this a product of UNC's defense being the weak spot of their team?
Yeah, I think that's part of it. Definitely, because they've given up a lot of points before. But it didn't just look like it was a bad defensive game on their part. Like, we were inherently doing things different. It was obvious,
right?
Which just makes the last 3 or 4 stinker games that we've had even more frustrating, because a lot of them could have gone differently.
Had to run some play action, things like that.
I don't know why it took us to play like a bad defense for us to have to do this. Like, you'd think you'd make the adjustments for good defenses and stuff like that.
You think you'd call the good plays against the good defenses, right?
But
keeping everything in the vault, baby.
Yeah, they were really saving everything up for this game. Pulled out all the stops, and it just wasn't enough. It looked better. And I think that, like, yes, this is a bad loss. It obviously looks way worse of a game than I think it actually was.
It was certainly closer. It was closer for longer than you'd think, with a nearly 20-point loss, an 18-point loss. Obviously, UNC going on 3 or 4 straight touchdown drives to end the game. 4 straight touchdowns in the second half. Getting outscored 21-0 in the fourth. That's really going to put a damper on everything. But
yeah,
the offense, at least, they did look a little bit better. Izzy's now the FBS touchdown leader with 16.
It feels like it kind of just feels like that's like what Signetti's just going to hold on to. Like, he's going to be like, no, you can't fire me. Like, this player led the FBS in touchdowns. Like, you can't do that. Like, you got to have something. You got to have something that, like, keeps you holstered. And that's Izzy's his anchor right now, because Keaton just won't throw for any touchdowns unless it's to Izzy. Like, it's hilarious.
Yeah.
But good for him.
It's so one-dimensional.
Yeah.
I feel like it's going to come to a point. I mean, they're 4-4. Essentially, does Narduzzi stay? Does he say we're going to keep Signetti and find a different quarterback? Or are you going to stick with Slovis and get rid of Signetti? Or are you going to just pretend there's nothing wrong and we could fix all our problems and keep both of them? I don't know, but
it's definitely
it kind of feels like
you can bench a quarterback, mid-season and then come back to them, but you can't fire an offensive coordinator and then bring him back. So I feel like what I think is going to happen is Signetti will get fired at the end of the year, and then we'll realize that he wasn't it. But we can't really pull the trigger on Keaton right now because he's apparently going to be back for next year. So
we're kind of the eligibility. Yeah.
We're just literally just riding the storm out, and it's the most frustrating thing to watch. But just knowing Narduzzi, I think that's what he's going to do.
Okay, I've got a game for you. Jalen Bradley's no longer on the team, right?
Right.
Who was the last player And when was it to catch a touchdown pass from Keaton Slovis, who is still with the team?
Gavin Bartholomew.
Or,
Excluding him.
actually, it
Receiver.
might be. Okay, so not it is Gavin from the Tennessee game. Was the last player to catch a touchdown pass from Keaton, who is still on the team. If you want to count
That's wild.
from other quarterbacks, the last passing touchdown we had, not counting those Jalen Bradley ones in garbage time of the Georgia Tech game, was Kanata Mumfield from Nate Yarnell in the fourth quarter of the Western Michigan game.
That
Every
is
single
crazy.
touchdown from that point has been Izzy, Vincent Davis, and then the two Bradley touchdowns.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow. That is
Nice.
crazy.
So I mean, I think this is what I've been thinking lately is like, obviously the expectations were high. I mean, we might have been sold too high on Keaton Slovis. I mean, he did look a little better. I don't know if that was game plan change or maybe he worked on something, but
I think a lot of it was better O-line play, too.
yeah, for
You had
sure.
it- and it could have been the game plan stuff again, too, when you run the play action.
They did.
and-
For what it's worth, the play action was working for sure.
Yeah, and it was like it was the first time in a while that I felt like they kind of set him up for success, gave him some time to throw and take these shots.
Yeah.
That was a pretty big part of the offense in the first half.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. We're just like, to me, like Izzy is having like a career defining and what should be honestly program defining season that has just been marred by these just awful
Yeah.
losses. I think that Gavin Bartholomew, from what I saw him, he is blocking his ass off in the run game, and he is just not getting rewarded. Like, he's not getting open when Keaton throws to him. They're not getting completions. He's not very, they're keying in on him a lot, I think. And honestly, Jared Wayne is having a sneaky, like, really good season for what he's, like,
Dealing with,
been allowed, been dealing with, essentially.
been allowed to do.
Been
is a
allowed to
good way
do.
put it.
He's getting open down the field. He's making some great catches.
Yeah.
And they just...
Are we? Yeah.
And I think another thing is, like,
He's
obviously...
a good go up and get it 50-50 ball guy.
He's also a go up and get it. He's a get open downfield, run the posts, run the deep ins, deep outs. Like, they're wasting those guys. Obviously, the O-line hasn't played, and still Izzy is, this superhuman force on the field. The defense this week, I think, was sort of a letdown, but, UNC's a very talented team. They got to Drake May. They kind of held their own on third down. Notwithstanding they didn't really. They went 2 for 3 on fourth. But at a certain point when the offense started stalling and we didn't have any counter punches late in the second half, that's just sort of been the story with this team. Is that once the offense starts to stutter, the defense gets tired.
Yeah.
And
Well, it's like so demoralizing too when you're like playing your ass off and then you just get. They had the help in the first half, but you could see like in the second half you could see
guys are just getting open.
Yeah.
I mean, and another thing is, I'll credit the UNC offensive coordinator because they just realized, hey, they're gonna bring 5 or 6 every play from the middle on blitzes, so we're just gonna throw we're gonna throw flare routes, we're gonna throw screens, we're gonna get it outside the box, and they adjusted, and it really worked for them. And they did run the same exact play as Louisville did for a touchdown, the fake flare for the
fake screen pass,
fake block,
Yeah. The difference in this game was the halftime adjustments.
Yeah.
We even when the offense comes out and looks good, we kind of shoot ourselves in the foot down the stretch. The best coaches are the ones that can make those second half adjustments.
And we still have been yet to see that really. I mean, I think really the last halftime adjustment we made was like defensively against Tennessee.
Yeah. Yeah, because even in West Virginia, it got a little stagnant in the second half. We needed our defense to pick us up to win that game. But you go back and probably look at every game, and if our offense was a line graph, it would just be a mountain where you're up, and then straight down.
I mean, it shows in the win probability too.
Yeah.
At a certain point in the third quarter, we had an estimated win probability of around 75%, and then it just kept going down.
Yeah. Ken, what was it like to turn on the game and just absolutely watch the wheels fall off?
Pretty horrible. I think I turned it on. I was keeping track of the score. And I was pretty happy to see we were up. I was kind of, keeping track of stats a little bit. Noticed, Izzy was the one punching it in, but after, going back and watching, it was good to see the offense pick things up, but then coming back, essentially sitting down and watching the whole second half collapse, or fourth quarter collapse was just, not what I wanted to see. I think I started it off with the Izzy fumble, and it just kept getting worse. So,
it was tough it was pretty tough to watch. But
you want to hear another bad stat?
Yeah, give it to me.
In the last 2 games, Pitt has been outscored 38-0 in the fourth quarter and has been doubled up on offensive yardage.
Jeez.
It's kind of hand in hand, right? Your offense doesn't do shit, defense gets tired by the end of the game, and all of a sudden you are just falling apart.
We also just can't play from behind at all.
Behind the sticks or behind the score. I mean, the last game we were truly playing from behind in was like West Virginia, and I think, we were only down 7 at most.
Yeah.
And that's turned out to be a brutally bad West Virginia team as well, so...
Yeah, it honestly, I feel like, I don't know, it kind of also just feels like a lot of this team has kind of given up on this season already. I don't know, it just doesn't seem like, I feel like if they had beaten Tennessee and maybe had more to even go for, but after, dropping, 1 or 2 games, I think now that they've, lost 4, I don't see, just a whole lot of motivation out there, honestly, to pull these games out.
Yeah, it's definitely, well, I'm sure as a player, it's incredibly frustrating as a fan, but I'm sure even more so as a player. When you kind of see the scheme that the team's putting together and going into the game, you can already kind of be like, this shit isn't going to work.
I mean,
can tough to get up as a player.
Unless you went to some sort of powerhouse football team in high school. I mean, realistically, every football player's had that moment where they're on a team where the scheme, it just sucks ass. I mean...
Well, and just doing the same thing over and over again, too, is
no adjustments, just we got to run it better.
Yeah. Well, yeah, hearing that as a player, be like, no, it's not our game plan, it's your execution. And then you hear all the fans and analysts being like, no, this is a really shitty scheme.
Yeah.
It's like, okay, why are we doing this?
Yeah, I don't know. So let's take a look ahead. Finally, Pitt is not playing on a night game. Next week, they get number 22 Syracuse at home at 3:30 on the ACC Network. They announced the Virginia time as well. Pitt goes to Virginia at 12 o'clock on the ACC Network on November 12th. If I had to be sort of optimistic, 7-5. I mean, I don't think that 8-4 is out of the question, but I don't see this team winning 4 in a row. Granted, the teams that play are Syracuse, Virginia, Duke, and Miami. Miami is all sorts of a shit show right now. We'll get into their game in a little bit. Duke, it's very bad when I'm saying I'm worried about Duke probably the most out of these 4 teams, right? Syracuse, sort of, if you can shut down Sean Tucker like they did last year, I think there's reason to believe that they can kind of hang with them. Virginia is all kinds of just bad. Duke has an interesting defense and has a spunky offense, and then Miami is, they're talented, but their offense also has some insane problems right now. If I had to guess, I would say 6-6, 7-5 optimistically.
Yeah.
But realistically, if we lose to Syracuse, I think 5-7 is sort of your most likely outcome. And going 5-7 off of an ACC championship season is just brutal for everything from program building, team cohesion, recruiting.
It's perfectly Pitt.
Perfectly Pitt.
Yeah.
So, as always, fire Frank Signetti, bench Keaton Slovis.
Give the ball to the Italians. Izzy. Just give the ball. I guess just keep giving the ball to him.
Izzy Abanaganda. No, actually, we want to keep the ball out of the hands of the Italians. Frank Signetti has been
That's true.
A one man. He's
take the ball from the Italians.
He's our personal Mussolini moment. Yeah, I don't know. The more I think about it, I really think that if we had hired Brendan Marion, or at least given him a shot in that Peach Bowl, we'd have been in a much better spot. Brendan Marion is basically, now that he left us, he's getting his real recruiting chops done at Texas. He's the coordinator for a very effective passing attack. He's the passing game coordinator at Texas as well as wide receivers coach. And, I don't know, once he leaves, the receivers sort of, everyone besides Jared Wayne is having really a lot of trouble getting any sort of separation.
It would have been at least more fun to watch.
I think we just would have been better, honestly.
Yeah.
Like, even talking about the run game, right? Last year, the run game, when it was working, was usually at the end of games. They're running out of the pistol, and that was a lot of Brennan Marion stuff when he was the OC at one school, I forget, and he was the head coach at William & Mary. Like, when they were running that pistol stuff, it was working. I just don't know why they didn't hire him. He was a great public face for the program. He had some interesting plays. He obviously can fucking coach his ass off, and now he lost in Texas, and he's not coming back. For as much as he grew up on those, he kind of made his name in the Pennsylvania high school ranks. I don't know who you get if they do. Hopefully, they lock Pat Narduzzi in an isolation chamber. They hand Frank Cinetti's papers and then hire like someone interesting behind his back and say, if you want to bitch about it, here's your buyout. I mean, Brian Harsin was fired, 5 hours ago. Money clearly isn't real. They've been paying 5 figures in buyout money every day. Well, they will be paying 5 figures in buyout money every day for the next couple months. Obviously, I'm not calling for Pat to be fired, but if they end up going sub 500, this seat should be hot.
Well, if they go sub 500 and don't make any changes in the next season, then the seat should get hot. I don't know if I can put up with another season like this.
And listen, Joe Moorhead is down the road at Akron. He was good at Mississippi State. They fired him for some weird reasons, but he was legitimately good at Mississippi State. He was pretty good at Oregon as well. And then, he was part of those insane Penn State offenses with Saquon and, I hate to give them credit, but Saquon and McSorley at Penn State. He's a Pittsburgh guy. If Pat Narduzzi doesn't make any changes, they should be putting in a backroom deal with Joe Moorhead by week 6. But that's getting a little far ahead of ourselves. This game sucked. Hopefully they can pull it out against Syracuse, who has now lost 2 straight. We'll get to that game later in the week, but it's not looking good. Not looking good. Anything else?
Is it time for me to give out my presents and my coal?
Yes. So we do have another news segment. We are giving out presents and coal to go with our Christmas game of the week. So, Kent, why don't you... you want to hear presents or coal first?
Give me the vegetables. Give me the vegetables first. Let's get the coal.
All right. So we touched on the very first Christmas matchup of the week. Last week was North Texas versus Western Kentucky. I chose to I think I said Western Kentucky was going to win but not cover. I said Western Kentucky money line. I was slightly off. North Texas pulls this one out. I think the final was 44-17. Really off on that, but I'm glad I didn't take Western Kentucky points. It could have been worse. My presents and coal this week have nothing to do with that game.
You get coal. You get coal for that pick.
All right, so my coal this week goes to Wake Forest. Horrible game. Horrible, just what a letdown. Number 10, you come in as number 10 team in the country. Hartman throws 2 pick sixes in the second half. They really just get blown out from, really the entire second half was just all Cardinals. And, so they get my coal this week.
That's a good pick.
And then presents, Kansas State. I mean, wow. Kansas State really just destroyed Oklahoma State. I think, we all picked Oklahoma State last week. Mason, you might have been gone already, but, we didn't expect this, especially with a, second-string QB for Kansas State. They really they showed out and played really well, so they get the presence this week.
They're a legitimate contender.
Yeah, you'd have to think that they're probably, next to TCU, it's probably a purple off in the Big 12 title game if K-State sort of maintains their trajectory. The other thing about that game, before you head into the rest of the ACC, is that Oklahoma State losing 48-0, that's the largest ever top 10 team margin of defeat.
Yeah,
So
that makes sense. With
a backup QB, Adrian Martinez is down, but what's his name? Will Thomas, I want to say.
Yeah.
I mean, he's getting the PS5 for Christmas.
all the games. New FIFA, new Madden.
He's getting the NCAA game early.
Yeah, he's playing the new Modern Warfare with Kyler Murray. He's got it all going. But yeah, I was like,
Will Howard, by the way.
What'd you say? Will Power? Yes, Kenton?
Hello? All right, Kent may be gone. He'll probably pop back in.
He's got to put another quarter in the prison phone. Dude, I was rooting for Louisville in that game, though, just because, I don't know, we lost to Louisville, so it would make us look a little bit better if they won.
Yeah.
But the ACC is just eating itself.
Yeah. So let's actually go through the rest of the games of the week while we wait for Kenton to, sort of haggle with his security detail.
Can y'all hear me?
Now
you're back.
Now we can.
What were you saying?
Hey. I said Will Howard.
Will Howard, that's the quarterback.
Yeah.
Okay, let's start on I believe this was a Thursday night game. NC State 22, Virginia Tech 21. Virginia Tech goes up 21-3 in the third quarter, and then NC State decides to, instead of playing their starter in this game, Jack Chambers, who basically has no arms, just a running only quarterback, they put in the freshman MJ Morris, who leads them to 19 straight points, with the winning touchdown, the go-ahead touchdown coming with 7:38 left in the fourth quarter. Big props NC State for making a change.
Yeah.
Obviously, down 21-3 is pretty big, but
crazy what a change of quarterback can do for a team.
hey,
Just saying.
2 weeks in a row. But yeah, tough break for Virginia Tech, but it looks like NC State might be in pretty good hands without Devin Leary at this point. Just having a guy like that. Next game on the docket, Notre Dame. Unranked Notre Dame beats 16th ranked Syracuse 41-24 in the Dome. They were getting run up and down. Garrett Wilson gets hurt Garrett Schrader got hurt in this game, so they had their backup quarterback in, Carlos Del Rio Wilson, which is pretty much an all-time name team. But
I saw a very funny tweet after this game. I think it's Sean Tucker does the game recaps after, or he'll be like, I was pleased with my performance, wasn't pleased with my performance. One of the Notre Dame players says, we beat Syracuse today, and I was pleased with my performance.
So that is now the second week in a row that he has gotten dunked on with. And by the way, he does have his own hashtag. It's pleased, but the EA is 34.
Well, that's actually kind of creative.
Great marketing.
Yes, yeah.
But however, when it's that public, you're gonna get just turbo dunked on when you lose.
Yeah.
Especially when you have 16 carries for 60 yards. So
yeah,
they shut down the run game.
He's the Magic Johnson of college football.
He really is. Wow. Yeah, okay, you want to talk about a loss that's worse than ours, just to feel a little bit better?
Yeah.
BC 3, UConn 13.
Oh.
This is UConn's first ever win against Boston College in 100 years of trying. They were like 0-something-2. Phil Jerkovic had 12-19 for 2 picks. He was also the leading rusher with 29 yards.
Wow.
Yeah. So
What
that
an
is
ugly game. What an ugly game in general.
it's real bad. At this point, UConn's actually knocking on the door of a bowl. They're 4-5. They should beat 1-7 UMass next week. They are going to have to beat one of Liberty or Army, which is a pretty tough task, but that is very funny to imagine UConn going to a bowl. Boston College is now 2-6.
Probably will not be bowling.
Yeah, I would say so. I didn't get any eyes on the Florida State game. They beat Georgia Tech 41-16. Yeah, okay.
That's
Cool.
games. That's a game I don't think we need eyes on.
No. I didn't watch this one, but this was it's a very funny game. Miami 14, UVA 12 in 4 overtimes. This went at the end of the game tied 6-6. UVA probably should have won in regulation, but they dropped a 4th down touchdown pass on the 1-yard line. In the first 2 overtimes, they both scored 2 field goals, and then in the 4th overtime, Jake Garcia finally put an end to it with a 2-point rush. This was
Only because they had to. If they wouldn't have changed the rules and made them go for 2, this game it would have went on forever probably.
I was hoping this one would kind of challenge the Penn State Illinois game for the most overtimes. Unfortunately, we only got 4. Well, I guess fortunately we got 4. But yeah, those are 2 very bad teams. That offense is terrible.
Somebody probably had the over in that game.
Oh my god!
And then when they went into overtime, they're like, "Yes, this is my chance." And then they did that.
You live bet the over, and it still misses by 15 points.
Yeah.
Our last game of the ACC. Kent kind of touched on this, but Louisville 48, Wake Forest 21. Number 10 Wake Forest loses on the road. I don't really have a lot to say about this game, but I do want to go over Wake's drive chart in. Oh boy! In the second half. Okay, they start off pick 6, fumble, interception, fumble, punt, pick 6, fumble, interception that was fumbled by the defense, touchdown.
So bad.
So not only did they get a second chance, I mean they're down almost 30 points at this point. They fumble it afterwards. Yeah. This is... What do you even say to a team after a loss like that? Just, well, shit, we fucked it.
Yeah. There's not a lot you can say.
I mean, I guess Sam Hartman just sees ghosts sometimes.
He's like Sam Darnold in that sense, I guess.
Don't talk to me about Jets quarterbacks seeing ghosts. They haven't been great lately. So that pretty much wraps up the ACC. I want to touch on a couple other games throughout college football from week 9. Number 2, Ohio State pulls away from Penn State late, 44-31. This was a very funny game in the fact that Sean Clifford had 2 straight picks to start off the game, and Ohio State was only up to 10-0. They made the game for
what was the final in that?
44-31. Okay. This was a game for pretty much all 3 quarters. And then at about the 8-9 minute mark in the 4th, Ohio State just goes off. I want to shout out one player who really, I was watching this game. JT Tuimoloau was just an inhuman beast for Ohio State.
Is he the one that had the first interception?
I think he had the first interception, or he caused the first interception, then had the insane pick 6 where he essentially dribbles a Penn State tackle. he goes to cut block JT Tuimoloau, and he just dribbles him and then just catches it and runs for 16 yards. So at least Penn State lost. That's one shining...
yeah, we were both right about that game, though, being closer than...
Right, they had a garbage time touchdown to cover, but it was not as close. I mean, it was actually...
It was a dominant performance by OSU with Penn State.
It was really funny because they were just putzing around on offense, and all of a sudden, 4th quarter, they just pull away.
Yeah.
Moving along, West Virginia falls to 3-5.
Yeah. This was my Wouldn't It Be Funny, and I would just like to say...
It was closer than the last couple ones.
Yes, it was. And West Virginia should have covered. The TCU scored like a last second.
20 seconds left in the game, yeah.
When they probably should have just went down and kneeled the clock out, but I guess they wanted to run up the score a little bit and ruin my fucking parlay. I also took Oklahoma State, so
yeah, you might want to talk about that one. That's actually for Big 12 tiebreakers is your point differential in conference games. That's why they did. That's probably why they did that. I remember there was a big stink about Dave Aranda doing that last year. Let's see did you see the fake field goal that Oklahoma ran?
Very cool. Yeah.
Very, very cool. They beat Iowa State 27-13.
You hardly ever see fake field goals that work, especially ones when it is giving the kicker the ball like up the middle, kind of like inside the tackles, essentially. But it was super cool.
Everyone remembers the one that Alabama did against Clemson in the title game.
Yeah,
this was that, but good.
Yeah, yeah.
The only difference is they pitched it to the kicker instead of just running him off of a direct snap, I believe. Right. We talked about the Kansas State game, just 48-0 over Oklahoma State, just a whooping.
Shit pumping. Yeah.
Shit pumping. By the way, number 17, Illinois. Did we ever consider Illinois being 7-1 and ranked? They should be 8-0, by the way. They got screwed on the Indiana game to open the year. But, number 17, Illinois beats Nebraska 26-9. Cincinnati is now a mortal team. They lost to UCF 25-21. I was a big UCF hater, but I guess Cincinnati probably, after 2 straight years of excellence, it's time to come down to earth. Tennessee, by the way, looking like they might give Georgia a run for their money next week. They beat Kentucky 44-6.
Yeah.
Sick blackout uniforms, too.
Very cool uniform game.
Awesome. Michigan, number 4 Michigan, beats Michigan State 29-7, just sort of sits on them. You see the post game?
Yeah.
I wouldn't call it a fight. It was a jumping in the tunnel.
Yeah, it was. Yeah, super. I don't even know. I would have loved to see like what led up to that. I was like trying to find some context, couldn't really find an explanation. But such a bitch move to jump the guy. Like 8 guys
jumped him in the. I guess he was running back to the locker room. Like maybe he had to take a poop or something. Like I just can't imagine that. And
yeah. Well, I don't know if it was him or one of his teammates that tweeted it, but they were like, "You literally had an entire game to beat up on us, and you waited to do it until the tunnel's in the locker room." So
Michigan State players did get suspended. Some guy actually hit him with his helmet.
Yeah, that's such like pussy stuff.
Yeah, that's very bad from Mel Tucker's team. We're now, I believe, 3-5. All the other scores are kind of boring. The only other thing I have is that all the teams named Aggies in the nation, so that's Utah State, Texas A&M, and New Mexico State, are 3-5. That's the only other thing I have on this week.
That's hilarious.
All right, I don't think I have anything else recapping the week. Just sort of, hopefully the offense calls the good plays next week.
They won't.
They won't, but we can all hope.
We can. Say a prayer. Write an angry letter.
Write your local congressman.
It's election week.
I'm surprised they didn't ask John Fetterman what would he use his power as a state senator to forcibly hire a better offensive coordinator for Pittsburgh.
Yeah.
And you know what?
He would have had my vote. He would have had my vote.
Unfortunately, Dr. Oz wasn't asked the question either. Yeah. I don't know. Maybe he would have. I don't know. That's where my vote is. I don't really care either way, but
yeah. We'll see. We'll see.
Anything else on the weekend recap? Did I miss anything?
No, I don't think so. I hope we are #pleased with our performance this weekend, but we will see.
Yeah, that would be great if we could tweet out, if we could dunk on him for a third week in a row.
I'm not gonna make a graphic ahead of time because I know if I do, I'm gonna
jinx it.
I'm gonna jinx it, obviously. But if we do win, I will be making a pleased tweet, which, of course, now that I said that out loud, is gonna.
It's in the universe.
Yeah,
it's in the universe.
Whatever. Please win. Okay, so this has been Simplify Pod. Thank you for listening to us mope and cope about Pitt football for, I don't know, probably the 4th or 5th straight week.
Mm-hmm.
As always, please follow the podcast on Twitter if you liked it. Follow it on your streaming app of choice, Spotify, Apple Music, Google Podcasts. Rate us 5 stars. Leave us a review. If you have a question you want answered on the show, feel free to DM the show on Twitter at SimplifiedPod. Make sure to tell your friends, family, coworkers, DoorDash drivers, estranged aunts and uncles, everything like that. If you want to follow the host of the show, you can follow me at I'm Real Angry. You can follow Mason at Clayson_Ming. You can follow Kent at Kent_VW. And with that, we'll see you next time.
Hail to Pitt.
HTTP.